I visited the Lewis Latimer House Museum in Flushing, Queens, and many of us today have heard the term of high value men or high value women, but Lewis Latimer was the definition of a high value man. Lewis was born to two enslaved parents who escaped from Virginia to gain their freedom in Massachusetts. Their enslavers would try to recapture them and offered a $50 reward for each person, but luckily for us, they had connections in the abolitionist movement and they were able to secure their freedom. Unfortunately, Lewis's father parented like a person that was enslaved and was infrequently in the home. The brunt of the responsibility for Lewis and his siblings fell to the mom. Being aware of this, Lewis tried to get employment early in his life. He would move to Boston and try to gain work there because of hopes that it would pay more. When the Civil War broke out, because of his belief in the liberation of enslaved people and a desire for better opportunities, Lewis joined the Union Army by lying about his age of 16, and he went to fight. After that, when Lewis came back, he would work in a patent office. And this is where he became a self-taught draftsman and made some very intricate drawings that we'll see as soon as we enter the house here. Lewis is also known for being integral to the creation of the light bulb and the telephone. And for many years, we would go on thinking it was only Thomas Edison, but fortunately for us, Lewis was not completely erased from history. And yes, we know that Thomas Edison would get all the money and Lewis just a little, but I won't digress into that. So the first thing is that Lewis was gifted and talented. He had nothing more than an elementary school education, and he was able to create 10 patents and do all this amazing work. The second thing about Lewis is that though he was often in the company of white people, mainly white influential men, Lewis was still committed to the cause of social justice, the liberation of black people, and the elevation of black people. Some of his closest friends who he participated in activism with were W.E. Du Bois, Frederick Douglass. He admired Booker T. Washington. Lewis would also go on to co-found a Unitarian church as a man of faith. So he was a gifted and talented person who used his talents to elevate everyone in the world and black people. He was committed to the social justice movement of the liberation and elevation of black people. And third, Lewis was a family man who appeared to have a healthy family relationship. Lewis fell in love with a woman who was born free in Massachusetts. She was of Caribbean and African American parentage. They would stay married for 55 years. They had two lovely daughters. Both were able to gain an education. One went to Pratt and one went to the Juilliard. When this house was going to be demolished, the one that is the House Museum, it would be his grandchildren that would fight and do social activism to ensure that not only was the house saved and became a museum, that Lewis would be elevated to his rightful position in history for his contribution to the light bulb and the telephone. So here we have it, a high value man truly who deserves to be emulated and elevated. He had gifts and talents that were God-given, and he used it on behalf of all of us. We're still benefiting from it today. He was a person that was socially active and committed to the elevation and liberation of black people, And third, he had great relationships with those around him. And to me, that is what we're all called to do as Black people, that we have no choice. We cannot just focus on making money. We cannot just focus on our family lives, but we have to put all these three elements together. Tell me if I'm wrong, though. You can like, subscribe, comment.